I tried to summarize briefly your earnings, but it sounded pretty good. How did you do it?
Sounded pretty darn good. The way we did it was through the hard work, determination, and effort of our team, the best railroads in North America. You know, what we did in the fourth quarter, we had some difficulty operationally, mostly driven by crew availability, mostly about COVID impact. But if you look at the full year, record operating income, record net income, record operating ratio, and the fifth year in a row of margin improvement. That it was a difficult year, but I am really proud of the results we put up.
Where are you right now on crew availability, to use your term? I mean, what kind of absenteeism, if that's the right term, do you have? And what's your vaccination rate?
Yeah, our vaccination rate's over 3/4 of our population, of our employee base, is fully vaccinated. I think that helped us weather the Omicron wave a little better than the communities that we serve. And at any given moment in time in the fourth quarter, we got up to 300 or 400 employees, maybe even more, who were unavailable to us because they were quarantining, either presumed positive or a known contact. And that really gets in the way of being able to run the railroad fluidly. Those numbers are down a bit right now, and our spike never mirrored the kind of spike that we saw in the communities where we live and operate. So I feel confident about how we're navigating COVID. Now, having said that, David, that doesn't mean we're out of the woods, right? Because COVID can continue to mutate and spike.
Every one of us, as a young boy who had a model train set, is fascinated with trains. But right now, we're particularly fixated on trains because of their role with the supply chain. Give us a sense of where we are in the supply chain, because you have your fingers on that pulse.
Yeah, there's a handful of things still getting in the way of a really fluid supply chain. One is demand in the United States for imports is way up. So we've really flooded the system with demand. The second is we just don't have enough truck drivers in the seats, and we don't have enough labor in our warehouses. And what we do have continues to be impacted by COVID. And then the last thing, which is unique to the international intermodal supply chain, a bunch of those trans-Pacific boxes are sitting in LA, trying to be made empty in LA so that the trans-Pacific shippers can get them back to Asia for another load. That's because they're getting really good rates over the Pacific Ocean. And it's abnormally high how much is sitting around in LA, overwhelming LA's ability to handle it. A lot of times that stuff comes inland on us and is made empty in places like Chicago and turned around. I think that's going to improve over time. I think all of that's going to improve over time, David.
Speaking of LA, that we've seen accounts now of the looting or ransacking of train cars out in the Los Angeles area. What's your experience with that? Is it causing you to change the way you conduct your business?
Yeah, that's a real problem. You know, you go back 2, 3, 4 years ago, and every now and then some criminal would pop open a box and see what's inside and take it. It's way more organized than that today. There's groups, they do things like shunt railroad track to stop trains in order to loot them. Now, we think we've got our arms around it. We've deployed technology like drones to capture the criminals. Our own police force has increased their presence. We're working with LAPD to increase their presence with us. Even the governor's office, who's on our property today to talk about the issue, and our customers are working with us. The last piece is we're really working hard with the district attorney to get more prosecution of the criminals. You know, something that's a little heartbreaking is when we make an arrest with LAPD and then 24 hours later, that person's back on our property. We also are investing in security, physical security, like high security fencing, concrete barriers, even concertina wire, in order to discourage trespassers and criminals from getting on our property.
And finally, Lance, I want to finish up here with Schneider. We've talked a lot about intermodal transportation with you. Tell us about the significance of this new partnership you have.
Yeah, it's fabulous. it's indicative of how we're addressing the domestic intermodal world and creating an environment where we can take more trucks off the highway. We have a great long-term partner in Hub. We've just recently onboarded Knight Swift, another very good operator, and in Schneider, who will onboard next January. That's a third really strong operator. You add that to our own assets, our own program, EMP and UMAX, which is done in conjunction with our rail partners in the East. And we now have really strong footing in order to address the needs of the ultimate shippers and bring more of that traffic onto the railroad.